Welcome to Rice TVX. On today's Rice Report, we're going to be talking about the 2023 banking collapse, how it is worse than 2008, and is just beginning. It'll be a 5x5 if you can hear me. And be sure to take an opportunity to smash that like button if you're watching on replay. Fast forward to about the 5-minute mark. Going to give everybody time to join us on today's live stream. Get some channel promotion out of the way. Make sure you are subscribed here at Rice TVX as well as my other channel, Rice Against the Grain.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Who's got some hubba bubba? Thank you for tuning in for today's live stream. I did a cleanup of the studio this past weekend, just a couple days ago, because today is Monday, and haven't got everything 100% organized, so you might notice a different background, but we're going to get this thing rolling. Looks like the lighting and everything else is good. I appreciate you guys tuning in for today's video. Again, if you're watching on replay, fast forward to about the 5-minute mark. Before we get into it, take time to visit my website at ricetvx.com. There you can sign up for my mailing list so you can stay up to date on all things Rice. Once you've signed up for my mailing list, you will find links for my channels and socials towards the top of the website. Make sure you are subscribed to both of my YouTube channels, Rice Against the Grain and Rice TVX. If you want to support my work directly, as well as get early access, exclusive content for both channels, plus more, join my Patreon. And as always, before we begin, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX who make it possible for me to do this full time. Shout out to Monarch, decentralized wallet that you possess and control your private keys for cryptocurrency holdings. And Presearch, the decentralized search engine. I also wanted to share that I have recently partnered up with ITM Trading. So if you want to schedule a gold and silver strategy call to build your wealth shield and support Rice TVX, be sure to use my specific landing page that you see on the screen, and I will also include custom Calendly links and an 800 number that you can utilize to schedule your strategy call with the ITM trading professionals. And again, it is a way to support Rice TVX. So the banking collapse is underway, and as I'm saying, man, it is just beginning. We're going to be talking about that and much more on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking advantage of my partnership with ITM Trading. It is an absolute free phone call. For subscribers and viewers of Rice TVX, you can take advantage of this free phone call. You can call them directly. You can visit learn.itmtrading.com/RiceTVX. Again, that is learn.itmtrading.com/RiceTVX. If you want to call them directly, the phone number is 866-516-5028. And that is a free call. You can schedule a gold and silver strategy call with the professionals over at ITM Trading. So I greatly appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to join me on today's live stream. Let me go ahead and get everything situated with everything that we've got being shared on today's video, and make sure that everything on screen is proper and good. I want to shout out the live chat, which I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. Going to try to keep it as short and simple as possible, but every time I say that, we end up having at least an hour-long live stream, but I'm going to do my best to keep it short and simple. My interview with G. Edward Griffin is available right now on my Patreon channel, as well as for private members. I encourage you to check that interview out before it comes out publicly. You can watch it unedited right meow over on my Patreon channel. As a matter of fact, I will have information scrolling across the bottom of the screen for my Patreon channel. If you do decide to become a patron, the billing process starts the day that you join. So you would get a full month. So it's not as if you would miss a few days from not doing it at the beginning of the month, and only join on a monthly basis, because once my private website is built, I will be phasing out Patreon and giving a 90-day notice, getting rid of my Patreon. I want to go ahead and take opportunity here and see who is joining us on today's live chat. And I appreciate everybody for joining me on today's live stream. Doing a little, make sure I got everything set up on the back end before I get this thing going. Matthew Millar, thank you for tuning in, my friend. Be your own bank. Be in cash. Tara Spence says, like, share, and subscribe. All these help share ideas with this group believe. Then if you can share and want to, please consider donating to help this channel grow. Thank you, Tara Spence. I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad that you hear that music. That is the intro music. The Bears are coming for the banks. 100% wisdom bars, 100%. Let's keep this thing rolling. Stereo 2, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for that 5x5. Brasby Games, thanks for joining. Kathy R. Remington Peralt, or Peralt, I think it's correct. You caught a live stream. Thanks for joining, my friend. A1, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad that you've been patiently waiting. I scheduled this thing about a little less than 2 hours ago, or about 2 hours ago. Wasn't sure if I was going to get a video out today, but I wanted to make sure I got something out, because I've got a crazy week ahead of me. And next week, I will be in Miami on Wednesday, the 17th through the 21st. I'll be in Miami for Bitcoin 23 and a couple other events that are going on, as well as Web3 is a joke. Going to have the producer host of that event on the show this week as well. We'll continue on. Georgina Martinez, hello. Thank you for joining from California. I appreciate you tuning in. I have some bank failures. I have cracks in the system, and I have recommendations. If you have not gotten on the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and or precious metals lifeboats, you might want to think about it. You might want to actually get involved in hedging against what is happening, not only against fiat currencies, the US dollar, but the entire banking system. It's all about problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. And it is way worse than 2008 already, and it's just beginning. That's what I got on for you today. So who else do we have in the chat? CND84, thank you for joining us. A1, you got a Miami background, a low match in your shirt. Yes, actually, the background is just the color of my wall, which is kind of a tan. There is a blue light going on right here that's adding a little texture. There is no red, but it does look like it's kind of pink and blue, but it is tan and blue. I definitely had to see what Divvy has done with their new wallet. Jim Montgomery, thanks for tuning in. New World Crypto, Sean C., my friend, hit me up. Hit me up tomorrow or Wednesday in the evening. I should be free. So I would like to talk with you. I know we meant to catch up over the weekend and not sure what happened there. Stereo 2, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see who else we got in the house, and then we'll go ahead and begin this one. So I did pronounce your name correctly, Remington Peralt. Glad to hear that. Thank you, Remington, for tuning in. And A1 said, I got the notification. Was happy to see you going live. Always enjoy your take on things, Rice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, A1. Deborah Mayer is in the house, tuning in from Canada. We got some flat smack in the house with some rice bowls. Matthew Millar, thank you again for joining. No more banks. Blocks are all we need. Well said, Sean. I'm locked out of my phone and it has my Uphold account. Interesting. Well, do you have access to a computer? Find out your email and you can access your email via computer. But if you need some help, Kathy, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the video description. All right, so I'm going to change out the banner going across the screen. If you guys want to join up on my lifetime membership, which I will cover a little bit more in detail towards the end of the live stream, there are 8 spots left for my lifetime access fundraiser for the private website. As soon as I get back from Miami, I'm putting 100%. What's the word I'm looking for? 100% focus on making sure I get this thing done. Because of Miami, it's kind of hindered me with being able to communicate with developers and finalize who I'm going to be choosing. So going to have that up when I get back from Miami. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so what we're going to be sharing on today's live stream is lots of information. Again, make sure you're taking advantage of that free phone call with my partnership with ITM Trading. I will be sharing some information here in just a little bit on how you can win 10 ounces of silver, 10 ounces of silver eagles. I will tell you about that here in just a little bit. The first article that we are sharing comes from the Daily Hodl. I want to make sure everything on screen is sharing correctly before we continue going on. And if you are enjoying this, if you are a subscriber of Rice TVX, I would greatly appreciate you taking time to smash that like button. It does help other people to be able to find these videos, and it would be greatly appreciated. So, by assets, the 2023 bank collapse has now officially exceeded the 2008 collapse. The Daily Hodl article came out yesterday on March 7th saying U.S. banking turmoil is now bigger than the 2008 financial crisis, but the real storm hasn't hit yet, says economist Peter St. Onge. So I'm going to show you a graphic here that comes from a New York Times article, which I'm not actually sharing that article because the only thing worth sharing in the article was this specific graphic. So the graphic that you see on screen will show you that in 2008, we have had $524 billion worth of bank collapses, the biggest one of which being Washington Mutual Bank at $430 billion. And then right on top of that graph, you'll see that there are 24 other banks that total up to $94 billion. Well, on the other side of that, and that should be your right side of the screen, you will see 2023, and you will see just 3 different banks listed. You will see Signature Bank, you will see Silicon Valley Bank, or otherwise known as SVB, and you will see now First Republic Bank. The total dollar amounts of the collapses that took place in 2008 were $524 billion. That's 25 banks. 2008. 2023, Signature Bank, $110 billion. SVB, $209 billion. First Republic, $213 billion. That is $532 billion between 3 banks, when 25 banks in 2008 equated to $524 billion. That's $8 billion more with 3 banks. And again, we're only just beginning. I've said it numerous times. The cracks in the system are showing. There's no way to avoid it. There's absolutely no way to avoid it. And the cracks are going to get worse. So I do have a challenge for you that I'm going to be sharing at the end of the video. A challenge that I have shared before, but a challenge that needs to be repeated numerous times. All right, once again, if you are enjoying this video, I would greatly appreciate if you would take an opportunity to give this video a thumbs up. I have to say that because it's supposed to help with the algorithm, and I'm definitely shadow banned, and I would love for more people to be able to hear this information, because what we're experiencing right now is the calm before the storm. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get better, and I've said this numerous times. So what I want to read in this article And I'm quoting this from St. Onge, just hours after Fed Chair Jerome Powell told America the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient, it fell off a cliff as a major regional lender, PacWest, collapsed over 50% in the aftermarket. So paired with the collapse of First Republic last weekend by assets, the 2023 banking collapse has now officially exceeded the 2008 collapse, with apparently a lot more to come from this very sound and resilient banking system of ours. Again, Jerome Powell said the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient. The economist believes that the collapse of the First Republic and others is likely just the tip of the iceberg, and I've been saying this for several months now. Using the 2008 banking turmoil as reference, St. Onge predicts that hundreds of banks will go under in the next 12 months as the economy feels the wrath of the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes over the past year. I will say that the Federal Reserve is the problem. They are causing the problem, and they're doing it for a specific reason, and that's problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. So in raw numbers, the 25 banks that collapsed in 2008 were followed by a drumbeat totaling of 440 banks in the following 4 years. That is 110 banks per year compared to 2 per year pre-crisis. So we haven't even begun to see what's coming. Interest rates typically take 12 to 18 months to really hit the economy. Means it lags. A lot of people have been talking about the Federal Reserve, and everything they're doing is going to have a lag effect. So we're barely 6 months in. So lining up against 2008 crisis implies the real storm is not even hitting for another year. These are the first breezes of a coming hurricane. Now, something else I wanted to share, and this comes from Bitcoin.com, and this was reported 2 days ago on the 6th of May. And it says reported unrealized losses. There may be more to this. It says the Fed reveals 722 banks report unrealized losses over 50% of capital as concerns over U.S. banking crisis grows. 772 banks. And we're talking about Q3 of 2022. So Q3, the way the quarters work is you have January, February, March is Q1, right? January through March. And then you have April, May, June as Q2. July, August, September. And that's what we're talking about, July through September. And then we have October, November, and December, and that's your Q4. So between this article is saying that the Fed reveals 722 banks reported unrealized losses over 50% of capital as concerns over U.S. banking crisis grows. Q3, 2022. We've seen a handful of bank failures this year. Nowhere close to 722. And even if you take into account to what I just shared from the previous article, we had 440 banks collapse in 4 years after the 2008 collapse, including the 25 during the collapse. So that's 465 banks minimal. And we're talking about 722 banks that have reported unrealized losses over the 50% of capital. Now, as we continue scrolling down with this article, the U.S. Federal Reserve has revealed in a board presentation by the Division of Supervision and Regulation that 722 banks reported unrealized losses exceeding 50% of their capital at the end of the third quarter of 2022. The presentation, released to the public in April, is dated February 14th, and it highlights the impacts of raising interest rates on certain banks and the Fed's supervisory approach to address issues at these banks. So the Federal Reserve is well aware of what their interest rate hikes are doing. Rising interest rates are creating significant unrealized losses in investment securities and in some cases depressing tangible equity. The Fed presentation states, as interest rates increase, banks with large market value losses could experience increased financial and risk management challenges. Now, I know this is not the most exciting topic to talk about, but I'm telling you, this is going to get a lot worse. And I really want people to get prepared while they can. I really want people, if you have not gotten on to the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, the precious metals lifeboat, you need to get on the lifeboat, because let me go ahead and go full screen for a minute here. They complement one another. Precious metals and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies complement one another. And I look at precious metals, gold and silver specifically, as monetary metals, as being my present way to preserve what I have, to keep my purchasing power. And I look at cryptocurrency, I look at Bitcoin as ways for me to expand upon that in the future, to grow my wealth, to be able to build generational wealth. And I'm sure that's what most people here would like to do. And in order to do that, you need to not be in the sinking ship that we're witnessing, because right now we are witnessing 100% a sinking ship. Now, let me see if there's anything more that I wanted to share on this article, because again, all this will be linked down below. So I do encourage you to make sure you're taking time to read all of this in its entirety. But I did say that I would let everybody know how you can win 10 ounces of silver. So I'm going to take an opportunity right now and share how you can win those 10 ounces of silver. And this is with my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. So you will see information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Actually, before I have it scroll, I'll pull it up full screen. So here's what you need to do. You need to visit moneymetals.com/rice. Now that's going to forward you. You will see it will forward you. As a matter of fact, while we're doing this, because I've had a couple of people message me about this, let me show you what it does. Watch the URL, because I have moneymetals.com. Well, 1, 2, 3, go back, and /rice in the address. Now, once you see me hit this, you will see something come up, say share sales, and then it will forward back to moneymetals.com. It collects a cookie and lets them know that you visited their website via my link. You make any purchase during the month, you will be entered to win 10 ounces of silver, and there's going to be 3 monthly winners. Now, oddly enough, last month, only 3 people used my referral link. So all 3 people who used my referral link all won 10 ounces of silver each. American Eagles. So congratulations to the 3 people that used my link last month. So here's what you do. I will go ahead and press enter. You see the share sales site. It took right back to moneymetals.com. Okay. So go to moneymetals.com, make any purchase from the beginning to the end of the month, and you're automatically entered to win 10 ounces of silver. That's 10 ounces of American Eagles, and that's worth right now a little over $200, about $250. So I would definitely encourage you to take advantage, jump on the gold and silver lifeboat, buy some gold and silver today. You can even buy some copper. You can buy some gold backs. Any purchase, any amount, no minimum amount, any purchase will get you entered to win, and you only get 1 entry per month. So make sure you're taking advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange, and I will have that information scrolling across the bottom of the screen for you right now. All right. I will come back to the live chat real quick, and then we will finish up talking about what we were talking about on today's video. Once again, thank you for joining me today. Please, if you have not, take an opportunity to hit that like button. Soon, YouTube will have to introduce an alternative to super chats called snail chats for cash payments. Interesting. Good one, Matthew. Appreciate it. Definitely hit me up, Kathy, if you need some help. Stan, it's good seeing you, my friend. Going to be releasing that interview with you probably midweek. I've got to I got to edit that tonight, as well as my interview with G. Edward Griffin. 333, much respect. Hello to everyone. Thanks, West South Saldivar. Thank you. And definitely make sure you guys are taking time to smash that like button. I greatly appreciate it. The banking system is sound and resilient because JP Morgan will hover all the bank shares at a 90% discount, and the Great Reset is complete. We're going to be talking about that consolidation here towards the end of the video. The question is, whose capital are they losing? Yours. But the FDIC is going to insure all bank deposits, remember, and that's just going to be printing more money to put into the system to devalue all the money that's already currently in the system. That's how that works. Nancy Pelosi gains, Nancy's portfolio gains. Mr. X, good seeing you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you tuning in. R.A. Daniel. West Salivar again. Thank you. And if you have not done it yet, be sure to smash that like button. Greatly appreciate. And take advantage. Enter to win 10 ounces of silver via Money Metals Exchange, man. They are a reputable precious metal dealer. I've been working with them now for several years. I'm super happy with working with them. And I haven't heard too many problems, and any problems that people have had have always been rectified. They've been around for a while. They've been reviewed, time tested, and approved. So we'll go ahead and continue talking about what we're going to be sharing on today's video. And let me share, get some information going across the bottom of the screen. You can sign up for my mailing list at ricetvx.com, and that would be greatly appreciated. And there are ways that you can support the channel down below as well. So let me go ahead and continue on with the articles that we were going to be talking about on today's show. So the next thing, and this comes from the Daily Huddle. This was reported on the 6th of May. This is an interesting article. It's titled, U.S. Government May Freeze American Bank Withdrawals as Currency Panic and Capital Flight Mounts. Macro guru Hugh Hendry. Now, Hugh Hendry is an interesting guy. I thought he was with something called Asset Finance, but it's actually called something like Eclectia. But he had some very interesting things to say. And he's basically saying in this, and this is just his opinion, his speculation. But he says that we're at a point where the Fed and Treasury officials, I'm sure, are having to consider a gate to lock or consider a gate on the U.S. bank deposits. Because if there is a bank run that happens, ultimately it's going to cause a failure with the banking system, which will cause a failure to the FDIC, which will cause a failure to the United States government. And it's interesting to say that he doesn't have the bug, and I'm going to read this directly as his quote. I've not got the bug, but Bitcoin is something I could conceive as an asset class that could trade 3 or 4 times higher in the next 5 years. And there's no other asset class that could make that determination. Now, the next thing I want to share comes from Watcher Guru's Twitter account. And this was on the 2nd of May. This is just showing you U.S. regional bank stocks following a collapse of First Republic Bank. You can see PacWest was down 30%, Western Alliance down 25%, Metropolitan Bank down 21%, and so on and so forth. What is going on is these banks are being propped up until the assets can be switched over to another bank, and we can see some more consolidation take place, because this is all about problem, reaction, solution, and consolidation. So be smart, folks, and make sure you're paying attention to everything that you need to be paying attention to. Now, if you guys can bear with me one moment. All right, let me get this pulled up on screen. I have to quickly run to the restroom. While I'm doing that, I am going to place a quick clip from an interview that I did with Lynette Zang about my partnership with ITM Trading. This free phone call that you guys can take advantage of to schedule a gold and silver strategy call. So bear with me. I'll be right back in less than 2.5 minutes. But if you don't mind, Lynette, would you kind of go over briefly what it is you guys offer at ITM Trading with these gold and silver strategy calls?
Oh, absolutely. Because the goal is to help people put their best interest first. You shouldn't really just trust somebody blindly. That's why I always give links in all of my videos. I'm giving you my opinion based upon my research. And one of the things I've been studying currencies and currency life cycles, which makes me really unique in the industry, frankly, since 1987. And once you start doing that, what you see are repeatable patterns. So the strategy is based on historically repeatable patterns. It's not rocket science. But if we are doing the same thing that they've done 4,800 times over 6,000 years and have always 100% of the time gotten the same results, I'm kind of thinking that that's going to be true this time. This time is not different. And I think it should be pretty apparent to everybody that we are transitioning into a completely new system. And so what you want when you enter that system is you want to be armed with an arsenal that's actually going to help you sustain your current standard of living and also potentially put you, and most likely, put you in a position to take advantage of this transition. So it really is a strategy. It's pretty simple. If it's super complicated and you can't understand, then there's always room for maybe some things that aren't necessarily in your best interest. So gold and silver are both super simple, but there are nuances. Like, I like to look at things and say, well, what if I'm right or what if I'm wrong? And if I can do something where it really doesn't matter whether or not I'm right or wrong, then that's the direction that I'm going to choose to go in, even if it costs me a little bit more, because in the long run, it could save me a whole lot and put me in a much, much better position.
Right.
So everybody at ITM has been trained in the strategy, and we can help walk you through, because what you really need to bring first are your goals. Let's put you first. What are your goals? What are your circumstances? And what do you have to work with?
I gotta say, like, I'm really impressed with myself that I can have something sitting on deck that would provide value to everybody, so I can use the restroom during a live stream, which I never usually have to do, but I had to do it today. And it is what it is. I think I may have to work with some people to invent a catheter system or some sort of a restroom for YouTubers so that we can just attach to something and go while we're live. But at least I had something sitting on deck. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for being patient. And thank you for joining on today's live stream. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. So let me see what about these few comments before I continue on. And then we're going to wrap things up with the problem, reaction, solution, consolidation part. If you have not jumped on the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, the gold, the silver, the precious metals, lifeboat, I ask you, what are you waiting for? There's a reason why I promote both. There's a reason why I am a proponent of both. Again, precious metals for the present to preserve. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin for the future to expand. It's worked so far for me, and I just keep hedging against the dollar. It's what it's all about. Kathy is saying that Biden keeps offering corporate airline discounts. I wish I had a corporation to get airline discounts. Are you part of a corporation? Because I could take advantage of some flight discounts. That would be great. The solution is to jail all the bankers, cancel the debt the bankers stole from the people, then nationalize the banks and use the interest to fund our government. After that, abolish the income tax. Tara Spence for president 2024. Appreciate you. Kathy, do you think the RV will sneak into the bank collapse? I don't necessarily think the RV has any relevancy, Kathy, unfortunately. I don't think there's any truth to the RVs by any means. RA, damn hearing, TradFi, step on it. What is that? What is that fruit called, or a vegetable? Because I don't eat these things. I know what it's supposed to be reminiscent of. What is that thing called? Eggplant. An eggplant. That is an eggplant. Yeah, well, it's all by design. Fernando says your interview with Lynette Zang was very good. I remember it. Thank you, my friend. She's actually been on the show like 14, maybe 15 different times. I have a playlist with all of my interviews with Lynette Zang. She was actually the second person I've interviewed on my channel back in 2018 when I first started. Gulag Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson knew this over 200 years ago. I agree. And Liberty Guy Off Grid said Andrew Jackson was the last one to destroy central bankers. And I would agree with that as well. He did pay off the national debt, which is nothing compared to what it is now, but no, Kathy, you cannot, unfortunately, unless you could talk to your stores about accepting it, unless you live in a state where gold and silver is legal tender like Utah. And I'm sure there are grocery stores or convenience stores that accept gold and silver for groceries if you would like to go that route. But right now, I prefer to spend my US dollars, and I encourage people to make sure they're using cash. Cash right now is really important, especially when they're trying to push us into a cashless direction. CND84, thank you, my friend. Fernando, there is GLINT, buy tokenized gold and link it to your MasterCard. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I haven't utilized them. I'm a big proponent of holding your gold and silver. Cryptocurrency is different when you possess and control your private key. The cryptocurrencies never leave the blockchain. The private key gives you possession of the cryptocurrencies on whatever blockchain that you are currently holding whatever cryptocurrencies of. So when it comes to gold and silver, I prefer to hold it. LV Group, thanks for joining. Almost half of the 4,800 banks in the U.S. are nearly insolvent as they have burned through their capital buffers, a group of banking experts. According to Professor Amit Saru, banks are underwater. Well, I guess that would make this thumbnail that I made be very relevant considering that the banks are underwater, huh? Because that shows an underwater bank. Because it is worse than 2008. That's what it is. It is worse than 2008. So before I talk about the consolidation part, we all know what's happening. Problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. So I want to go back to some notes I have here for a challenge, an unbank yourself challenge, or decouple yourself from the bank challenges. These are like two different things depending on your lifestyle, depending on your beliefs, depending on what you're willing to actually do, how far you're willing to go for the things you believe in. I would just say unbank yourself. But if unbanking yourself is not an actual reality for you, then you need to decouple yourself from banks. And I'll explain both. So one, if you need to use a bank, if you have to have a banking account, I would encourage you to use credit unions versus an actual banking institution. And if you're using a smaller or regional bank and you're thinking about closing your account and opening up an account over at one of those too big to fail or too big to allow to fail institutions, I would encourage you not to do that. That is exactly what the Federal Reserve and the central bankers want you to do. This is about consolidation. They're raising the interest rates on purpose. There's a reason why 722 banks were insolvent in Q3 of 2022. And the Federal Reserve knew this, continuing to raise interest rates. And they just recently raised interest rates just, 5-6 days ago? So use credit unions, or you can use things like prepaid debit cards. If you have Cash App, it's going to offer you a banking account. It's going to offer you a routing number and everything you need to have a checking account without actually having a traditional banking account. Now, Cash App does lend money, but it doesn't come out of user funds. Cash App is not a real bank, So they're not allowed to do fractional reserve banking. 2, only leave in a bank what you need to cover your bills. It's going to be easier for you to deposit money, as much of a pain in the ass as it might be, than it will be for you to withdraw money. And I've showed this a couple times, but just to show you that I practice what I preach. I bank with Truist. I was a BB&T banker. Truist bought BB&T. I haven't closed the account, but I only keep in what I need to cover bills. So this is my current balance right now. Where is that at? There's my balance. Okay. I'm considering closing my bank account. I really am. I don't necessarily need it, but only leave in the bank what you need to cover your bills. Look at your deposits as the same way you would look at investing. Never invest more than you're willing to lose. Never deposit more than you're willing to lose. Let me fix my there we go. I got really blurry. Trying to show that screen really screwed things up. All right, so again, only leave in what you need to cover your bills, to pay your bills, and pull out the rest, because it will be easier to deposit than it will be to withdraw. And if you listen to what that billionaire hedge fund guy, going back and make sure I'm reading his name correctly, the guy from Acid Finance, the macro guru, Hugh Hendry, he's been all over. He did this interview with Bloomberg, I believe, and he's saying it's very possible the U.S. will freeze banking withdrawals. So pay attention to what's happening around the rest of the world. Pay attention to banking holidays, because everything is reliant upon the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, and the rest of the banking system is going to be reliant upon the United States banking system with the Federal Reserve. You can ask people, many people, you probably have heard numerous stories. I've said it a lot. If you're trying to withdraw any, and I wouldn't even say a large amount of money, but just anything over a couple $1,000s, if you're trying to withdraw that from your account, whether it's a personal or business account, you're going to have to give several business day notices. And I've been hearing $5,000 withdrawal is requiring a minimum of 5 business days to request the withdrawal. So if you need the money today, you're not getting it today. You're going to get it 5 days from now if you put the request in now. 5 business days. But today is Monday and it's past 5:00 p.m. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then next Monday would be your 5 business days. It's going to be easier for you to deposit money than to withdraw the money. So again, I ask you, in all seriousness, you're watching my channel. You know I am a strong proponent and supporter and owner, because I practice what I preach, of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and precious metals. Have you gotten on the Bitcoin lifeboat? Have you gotten on the cryptocurrency lifeboat? Have you gotten on the gold lifeboat? Have you gotten on the silver lifeboat? Have you gotten on any precious metal lifeboats? Have you gotten on any other lifeboat than the US dollar? Because the US dollar is sinking. If you can afford to take your money out of the bank and use other ways, other means, unbank yourself. As a matter of fact, I think just thinking about it, just while I was talking, I think I'm going to go ahead and close my bank account up, and I think I want to go ahead and try my best to film doing that. I don't think they're going to have a problem with me closing my bank account, being that I never have any money in the bank. I only leave in what I need to cover my bills. So it's not like it's going to be a loss to them, but it's going to be more of a statement. And I need to practice what I preach. I don't even need to leave just that in the bank. I can use Cash App for that, and I can use debit cards, and I can use other things. So I have made a decision right now, and I got to figure out when I can do it. It may have to be when I get back from Miami, obviously, because I have to make sure I have funds while I'm traveling versus cash. I want to figure something out. I want to try to record a video as I close my bank account up. But I encourage you, unbank yourself, decouple yourself from the banks. Don't move your accounts from a small or regional bank to a larger bank. Because again, this is all about problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. Pretty simple, people. So before we share the rest of what I was going to share on today's video, I'm going to go ahead and come back to the live chat, see what everybody has to say. Then we'll wrap things up. I'm either going to be releasing my interview with G. Edward Griffin tomorrow or Wednesday, but being that it is almost 8 o'clock p.m. today and I still haven't edited it, and I'm going to be doing that after this, probably Wednesday. I'm also going to be going live on Thursday. I've changed up the time. I will be going live Thursday with Jason Casper here on Rice TVX, so stay tuned for that. And I've got plenty of other videos coming out for the rest of the week and next week before I go to Miami for Bitcoin 23. We'll see where I left off with some of these comments. New World says, if you ever need a bathroom break, don't let anything, don't have anything to run. I'm always here with great jokes to keep people entertained. Yeah, but I would need somebody on screen. So unless you were co-hosting, that really wouldn't help. But I appreciate, Sean. Thank you so much. Kathy R. Biden is offering discounts for inconveniences for the public. I know Biden is offering discounts or supposedly going to be offering less of an interest rate for people who have bad credit scores. I will repeat that. If you have a bad credit score, you will actually have a better interest rate than somebody who has a good credit score. Because right now they're going to try to encourage any and everybody to buy, to get more debt. And if you heard about ninja loans back in 2008, no income, no job application loans, ninja. Again, 2023 is going to make 2008 pale in comparison. Definitely an interesting time to be alive. Bankrupt is the word you're looking for. Eggplant. Yes, that was an eggplant. No, blockchain is not a quantum system. Blockchain is just a ledger. It utilizes distributed ledger technology. It's very different from a quantum system. And Kathy, it sounds like you're listening to some individuals who are promoting a lot of QAnon stuff. And that is not what we talk about here. We try to make sure we stay in reality. There is not going to be a quantum financial system. XRP is not going to become the currency of the world reserve currency. I'm sorry that you've been told some of these things. I do offer consultations for cryptocurrencies. If you're interested, Kathy, it is not free, but I do offer consultations when it comes to cryptocurrency. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and put some information scrolling across the bottom of the screen. If you would like to schedule a cryptocurrency consultation with me, I will help and answer any questions that you have. But Kathy, you sound very confused. And I don't mean to call you out, but you're asking me some very QAnon questions. And a lot of people who watch my content should know that I am very, very much against people and their propaganda and selling people lies and hopium. I'm much more grounded in reality, and I am an open-minded skeptic. Quantum computing is far off. So Glint is a service, not a token on blockchain, but sure, physical is better. But if needed to spend it, maybe it's a solution, spendable gold, sort of. Fernando, thank you. There's plenty of different companies out there offering something very similar as what you described Glint as being. So I do appreciate, I'm not going to knock it. I'm just not a part of it. So I'm not really going to be promoting it. Cindy, or I shouldn't have said Cindy, but CND84, only crypto for 5 years, don't pay taxes, travel, visa, nomad life. Shout out to you, CND84. That's awesome. Awesome to hear about that. LV is saying the Federal Reserve is after your cryptocurrencies and government will make it illegal to own cryptos, just like gold in 1933. I disagree. I strongly disagree. It's too far gone for them to be able to try to ban Bitcoin. They will try to make it difficult for people to on-ramp and off-ramp with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but they're not going to ban. Because I actually think that Bitcoin specifically will be weaponized by nations. And we will see that. I've talked about that as well as others talking about the 2025 bull run, 2028, 2024, 2025 bull run being more from nation states kind of pushing this narrative this time around. Are you saying no new currency either? If you're referring to a rainbow currency, no. But we are at the end of this financial system, and we will see a reset. But right now, they're pushing us into the direction of a central bank digital currency. And there's more things that point to me that there is definitely us going into a central bank digital currency than the Treasury issuing money again and ending the Federal Reserve and issuing rainbow notes or U.S. notes. I'm sure that's what you're referring to, Kathy. And unfortunately, no, I really don't think that's the case. If you would, again, like to schedule a consultation, I would like to offer to help you because it seems like you could definitely use a little help. And OK says, trust the plan, bro. Remember that one. Right. Well, that was years ago. I mean, I was paying attention to Q posts in 2017. I stopped paying attention to it in 2018 and most of 2019. Started paying more attention in 2020. And by the end of 2020, really had the open-minded skeptic in me just really couldn't pay any more attention. I realized that it was a psyop, and there were too many people that were waiting for someone else to save them. And pretty much most of what was coming out of, and I separate the Q post from QAnon. The QAnon people are the ones spreading this. Q posts have never talked about rainbow dollars or US notes. None of these things. This all comes from people speculating. And if you follow any of the Q posts, you would have saw that the Q posts were very, very, very adamant in saying no outside comms. And comms is a short word for communication. So to say that in its entirety is no outside communication. So for anybody to say they know what's going on, it's BS. And if you see a website that's claiming to be an intel website, you may want to question, why is this intel available for me? And if it's available for me, then who else is available for? Now, I don't think myself, yourself, or anyone else watching this, unless you have top level military clearance or you're like an extreme hacker and you can access information, anybody watching this is not going to be privy to any sort of military intel. So if you're looking at a website that says it's an intel website, you may want to question what the actual intel is. I encourage people to use critical thinking. I encourage people to think for themselves and to ground themselves in as much of reality as you possibly can, even though it's not exactly easy to figure out what is real. All right, so we're going to go ahead. Said I was going to try to keep this thing short. Said every time I do this, it's going to be at least an hour-long live stream. We're at 54 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and share the last part of what I was going to share on today's video. And again, everything is linked down below in the video description. Stay tuned for the G. Edward Griffin interview that will be coming out Wednesday. I've decided that as well. Wednesday, I will be releasing the G. Edward Griffin interview, but you can watch it right now on my Patreon channel or becoming a private member. Here it is, interview number 3, early access, unedited, right there on Patreon. So last 2 things I want to share. I said this is about problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. I've said that in previous videos. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, 12 million, 13 million, 14 million, 15 million, 16 million, 17 million, 18 million, 19 million, 20 million, 21 million, 22 million, 23 million, 24 million, 25 million, 26 million, 27 million, 28 million, 29 million, 30 million, 31 million, 32 million, 33 million, 34 million, 35 million, 36 million, 37 million, 38 million, 39 million, 40 million, 41 million, 42 million, 43 million, 44 million, 45 million, 46 million, 47 million, 48 million, 49 million, 50 million, 51 million, 52 million, 53 million, 54 million, 55 million, 56 million, 57 million, 58 million, 59 million, 60 million, 61 million, 62 million Let's go back in time. So the first thing I'm going to share here is an article from CNBC, and this came out March 14th, 2018, a decade after 2008. That's 10 years, in case you don't know what a decade is. A decade after its first sale, or its fire sale deal for Bear, meaning Bear Stearns, a look at what JP Morgan got in the bargain. So consolidation, these regional and smaller banks that just don't fall by the wayside will be consolidated by bigger traditional financial institutions, your TradFi institutions, your legacy institutions. So the most important things to take away from this is JP Morgan originally agreed to pay $2 a share for Bear Stearns, with the Federal Reserve promising to cover $30 billion in mortgage securities to get the done deal. To get the deal done. But again, what they're saying here is that in addition to paying pennies on a dollar, $2 a share for Bear Stearns, the Federal Reserve also covered $30 billion of mortgage securities. That's the mortgage-backed securities that caused the collapse 2007, 2008. The bank originally estimated merger-related costs of $6 billion and potential revenue gains of $1 billion by combining Bear Stearns operations into its own. JP Morgan had a mortgage-backed and crisis-related legal tab of more than $19 billion, a large chunk of it related to Bear Stearns and another acquisition, Washington Mutual. So in the 2008 financial crash, not only did JP Morgan acquire Bears and Stearns, but it also acquired Washington Mutual Bank, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, bank failure in the United States. It might actually be the largest bank failure in the United States, $430 billion. So again, problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. The banks are broke, people. Literally, because all the money that you put in the bank, they've lent out in other fashions, and the banks are broke. So again, problem, reaction, solution, consolidation. I've been saying this since February at least. But I knew that 2008, everything that was going on with the bank crashes, the 440 bank crashes, collapses after 2008, I knew it's all about getting this down to a select few. And the ones that remain, that are failing, will get consolidated. And that's why, to go back and show you really quickly from this Watcher Guru post, these banks have not failed yet because they're all being propped up so that another TradFi institution, another legacy bank, another too big to fail, or another too big to allow to fail bank consolidates and ends up purchasing these things for pennies on the dollar. So to confirm what I was saying, the latest on JP Morgan's takeover of First Republic Bank. JP Morgan, First Republic Bank. So let me go back and show you this graphic again. So out of, let's say this graphic is going to represent 25 banks on one side, that's 28 banks. Out of these 28 banks, 2 of them JP Morgan owns, if not more. So JP Morgan was able to acquire Bears and Stearns and Washington Mutual in 2008, amongst others. And so far in 2023, they've been able to acquire First Republic Bank. Now, the problem that I have with this is I believe that no one specific bank is allowed to have more than 10% of U.S. citizens' deposits in their institution. And I believe that acquiring First Republic is going to put JP Morgan, or has put JP Morgan, over the 10% mark. So I'm curious how that's going to come into play. I'm curious if they're going to allow for more legislation to come into play as well. So the markets are digesting the news that JP Morgan Chase is buying most of First Republic Bank in a deal announcement early Monday after the weekend of negotiations. The fall of the regional lender represents the second largest failure in the United States. So if that's the second largest, then Washington Mutual is definitely the first. Markets closed lower Monday after a slightly volatile day. Investors now turn their attention to the Federal Reserve, which is set to announce the 10th straight rate hike on Wednesday. That was this past Wednesday, despite the recent stresses in the banking system. So the Federal Reserve, again, knew what they were doing. They knew by raising the interest rates what kind of stress they were causing to local regional banks. Because, again, in Q3, the Federal Reserve reveals that 722 banks reported unrealized losses, over 50% of capital, as concerns over the U.S. banking crisis grows. Do you get what I'm saying here? Again, you have a couple lifeboats available to you. The ship is sinking. You have a Bitcoin lifeboat. And I separate the Bitcoin lifeboat from the cryptocurrency lifeboat. And you have a precious metals lifeboat, which could be just a gold lifeboat. It could just be a silver lifeboat. It could be a copper. It could be a palladium. Have you gotten on those lifeboats? Have you taken advantage while you can? Because when central bank digital currencies get issued, because it doesn't look like a lot of people are fighting against it, are you going to be able to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Are you going to be able to buy gold, silver, precious metals? I say, jump on the lifeboats while you can. Do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in for today's live stream. Got a few more comments I'm going to highlight real quick before we do wrap up. And I do appreciate you joining me today. Be sure to smash that like button and stay tuned. Wednesday, I will be releasing that G. Edward Griffin #3 interview, my third time with the author from The Creature from Jekyll Island. You can watch it right meow over my Patreon channel or by becoming a lifetime member with my fundraiser. And Kathy, I hope I did not offend you. Field McConnell has brought up many things throughout the years. Again, I really hope I didn't offend you with what I said. I just really tried to dilute the Kool-Aid. Unfortunately, a lot of people are drinking some very strong Kool-Aid, and it's affected their thinking. They could. And you cannot participate. They've got to prove ownership. Kathy, I'm glad to hear that you are diversified. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it because I really don't want to offend people. I just want to try to bring people back to reality. There's been too much bullshit being fed to people, too many lies out there, and I understand that people want to be saved. But just realize that what you need to save yourself is yourself and everything around you, the people around you, me, all the people here. We have each other's backs. We don't need to be saved by anybody else. We could save ourselves individually and collectively. Because when enough people take a stand, absolutely nothing can stand against the people. So before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this. Because times are changing. And I encourage you to be the change that you want to see in this world. In order for you to do that, you need to be a blessing to others. You have to be a blessing to others. You need to treat people how you want to be treated, and you have to treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in the Matrix, and be the change that you want to see in the world. Unbank yourself, and until next time, practice change.